Welcome to Chaotic Riff Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriff.com. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking with lead singer Roy Cathey from the band The Fifth. And you also have another band, Steel City. So we can talk about both bands. But mainly we're going to be talking about The Fifth, which is, you guys have a new EP that just dropped. So you want to talk a little bit about that, Roy?
Yeah, Jason. Yeah, man, great. Thanks for having us on. Man, very excited about the new EP. It's been a long time coming. The band's been around for many, many years. I've had several great members in it, but this lineup that I've got right now is my dream lineup, man. I've got some great musicians, and we've put out some super solid music, and we're excited to have it out finally.
Yeah, and your publicist sent me the EP. I haven't had a chance to hear the whole thing, but one song that really stands out to me, I think, is Shake Little Sister. That's the current single, and you just said you're going to be making a video for that, or dropping one soon, I think. So talk a little bit about that song, because to me, I mean, I just kind of, even though I just heard the one track, one thing I can say about it is, like when you listen to a new band for the first time, you're trying to often think, oh, who does this band remind me of? And I can honestly say you guys got kind of a fresh, original sound. You don't really sound like anybody else.
Well, man, you know, I definitely appreciate that very much, Jason, because in the music industry, I think, you know, the wheel's been reinvented many, many times.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I mean, we've always just, you know, on Shake Little Sister and this whole record, we pretty much just embraced our roots and our influences, and we just really wanted to go for an in-your-face, straight-ahead, back in the day when rock was fun, and it was about the party, and it was about, you know, excess in a lot of ways.
Because again, just listening to the one track, that's kind of a feeling I got. It's like these guys are kind of loud, they're metal in your face. You know, no doubt about what you are. I mean, there's no, doesn't seem like there's any pop sound to what you do.
No, we definitely wanted to write a straight ahead rock in your face. This is the statement song. It's the opening track, and it's the first single, and we're going to be dropping the video in a couple of weeks for it. So it's a statement song, like I said, and I do appreciate it. It does have elements of old school, but we've tried to keep it as fresh as we can.
It's kind of a combination. Just again, listening to one track. Kind of a combination of, like you said, old school with the twist of a modern day rock metal sound.
Yeah. I mean, we really tried to, one of the terms that, a lot of people ask, well, what do you guys sound like? Who do you sound like? What do you sound like? I mean, we're mutt rock. I mean, anybody by this day and age, it's mutt rock.
I like that.
You're a combination of all your influences and what made you what you are, So luckily with this group of guys, we're all on the same page, and we all wanted to make the same record, and that's why it comes out as such an easy listen.
I got to tell you, Roy, I think you should trademark that or coin it mutt rock, because I like that. I've never heard of that before, but I think it kind of is fitting for what you do.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be real, man. Rock and roll is rock and roll.
Oh,
you know, and there's been different flavors of it through the years, but it's all basically a sum of all parts.
Yeah, and here's the thing, with that. I mean, like you said, this band's been around, I think, since 2000 or 2001, and it seems like people are just kind of really, despite of that, just really starting to just hear about this band. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'm not going to put all the blame on the geographics of it. A lot of it has to do with that. We're based on the East Coast. We're based in the South. We're based out of North Carolina. But also, I mean, I got to put a lot of blame also on just the overall, I don't know, the industry as a whole. We're just not getting the support that was out there before, especially in the rock genre.
Yeah.
The rock genre is like just a forgotten genre, where we've turned out to be the redheaded stepchildren of the entire music industry. You know, and what I like in a sense is, rock and roll was always about rebellion. It was always about the underground. It was always about the rebellious kids. We're going back to that.
Yeah.
The kids that are listening to the rock and roll are the ones that are the outsiders. They're the ones that are a little bit weird in the school. You know what I'm saying?
That's
They're
all right.
the ones that stand out.
Yeah, you're making some noise, though. People, like I said, it doesn't matter, I guess, what took so long, but it's fact that people are starting to hear about this band now. And you mentioned being from North Carolina. Is there much of a rock or metal scene there these days?
Man, North Carolina, what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of great bands have come from here.
Wow.
There's a lot of great bands Corrosion of Conformity, right down the road, Raleigh, North Carolina. If you're familiar with them.
Heard of them, yeah.
They're only won a Grammy,
Okay, yeah.
You've got members of Seven Dust that grew up right down the road here in Lumberton, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
I could go on and on with the amount of musicians and talent that's come up. One of the greatest guitar players out there right now, Jimmy Herring, who's out with Widespread Panic, born and raised right here in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Well, see, you're educating us, because I don't think, even myself, I don't think a lot of people even realize that it's, I guess, a breeding ground for great rock music. But so we're learning something
here. It really is, and it's because of the military element. Because you've got people from all over the country. They'll come and they'll get settled here at Fort Bragg, for 4 years or so, or they'll retire here, and a nephew moves in. It was a very fertile breeding ground for a very long time for a lot of great musicians.
Yeah, and Roy, I can also say there's been a bit of a progression in the sound of a band, because I wanted to listen to something kind of a little older, as well as something from a new EP. So I found your video for the song "The Gift." That's another kind of just a heavy kind of in-your-face tune, but overall just another great tune, and it kind of shows how the band has progressed from there. And I think both tunes are just kick-ass. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And you can notice and see and hear the different progressions from one band to the next. You can see the different stylings, and that comes from just me working with the musicians that were at hand at the time. And I wrote great songs with everybody that I was with, and their lives move on and different goals, and they move on to other projects. But the earlier material from the Fifth was definitely, we were leaning a little bit more towards the modern rock side. A lot of the stuff was tuned down, and I was singing more in the lower registers. The new EP has kind of more embraced my 80s, higher end singing type
I mean that's true of any band. Like you listen to Aerosmith like from the 70s, versus Aerosmith from the 80s or 90s. Sounds a little different, because I think you just kind of proven the point. Anytime somebody leaves a band and you get a new member coming in, of course, everybody kind of brings their influence in the band. It's going to alter the sound just a wee bit, because everybody kind of has their whatever they bring to the table,
Well, every chef is going to bring a little bit of something to the stew, it's like you're everybody brings in a little flavor, what I'm trying to always do is just try and accent whatever chef that I'm working with at the time, is use it to the best of my ability.
And being the singer and the frontman, you're the guy who has to sing this stuff. So, how willing are you to allow the other guys to be involved with the writing of the songs?
Well, generally the way it works is I work with the guitarist.
Okay.
The guitar player and myself, he'll come up with the riffs, I'll come up with the lyrics and the melodies. I'll generally help with some arrangement ideas and stuff like that. But my guitarists are generally my vessels.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So I'm like an Ozzy. I'm like a David Coverdale kind of thing. I get the best guitar players that I could find at the time, and I write songs with them, and we put stuff out.
Now, do you play guitar, any instruments, or you just primarily sing?
I'm just like a David Lee Roth, baby. I'm just a song and dance man.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Hey, I mean, you're great at what you do. I was listening to some of the stuff, and it's just amazing. You got to scream. You scream just kind of as good as Rob Halford, I would say.
Well, thank you. He's one of my idols, and I've done this my whole life, so it's like I've kind of settled into my niche, and I'm comfortable to be like, hey, I'm a singer, lyricist guy, you know. So I've turned into the guy that people can, you know, come to with just bare bone stuff, and I can write, you know, lyrics and melodies to it. Or I got people that come to me and say, hey, I've got lyrics and melodies, can you tweak this a little bit, and can you sing this? You know, so I've kind of put myself in a unique position.
Well, of course, it's very important being the singer, but, you know, being the guy that writes the lyrics too. I mean, you're kind of telling the story in each of the songs, and, you know, that's a very important you know, responsibility in any band. I mean, even take a band like Motley Crue, and then, you know, Vince Neil's a singer, and we come to realize, wait a minute, it's Mick Mars and Nikki Sixx who wrote all those songs, and he's kind of just the voice, you know. It of course depends on, you know, the band, but you even look at a band like The Who, and you realize, wait a minute, Roger Daltrey, he sang all the songs, but Pete Townsend, he's the guy that wrote all the hits, you know.
He's the guy that wrote it all. Well, you know, I work very closely with the guitarist, as you can probably imagine, and you know, it's, you know, for me, you know, I understand the pressures of being the singer and the frontman.
Oh yeah,
I get it. I understand the pressures of being the guy that has to come up with the words and the melody. Yeah. And you know, not putting my position higher than anybody else's. Yeah. That's a lot to carry. That's a pretty big burden, because, you know, after the opening guitar riff, what's everybody waiting to hear? What's going to be said? What's the first word? What's the first scream? What's the first, you know, what's the message of this fucking song, you know? That's my job. You know what I mean?
And you know, you take it to the next level as far as, you know, fans come to see the band live. I mean, besides just being the songwriter and the guy that, you know, sings these tunes, I mean, like you said, when you're up there on stage, I mean, being the frontman, you got so much responsibility. Like, you got to kind of, sometimes on the spot, you know, come up with your stage drafts and the comments you're going to say between songs, and how you're going to greet the audience, and you know, all that. And being the frontman, I mean, everybody else got their responsibility in the band, but it's like all eyes are on you, you know, and you're the guy that...
All eyes are on the singer, and you've probably seen it.
Yeah.
And before a million times, you can go see a band, and the band could be smoking, and if the singer opens his mouth and he sucks, you're going to walk away going, that band sucked.
Yeah, just because of the singer, and yet
just because of the singer.
Yeah,
just because of the singer. You know what I mean? The rest of the band could be fucking awesome. I mean, you'll recognize that the rest of the band is awesome, but generally you're going to walk away going, oh man, they really sucked. You know? And that's what, you know, that's part of the pressure of being the singer. So it's like, when I see those memes about, you know, singers not carrying fucking the guitar players fucking shit, I'm like, fuck you, dude.
And you know, and I could just tell by looking at your photos, you stay in shape and you're fit and everything, as far as being able to get up there on stage and do what you do. And I can also tell people, just listening to some of your tracks, you know, like first thing I was thinking, man, this guy, he can belt it out. He's a great screamer. But you know, if you're into metal, like, man, this is what you want to put on, you know.
Well, I've been the one guy that, you know, I mean, by no stretch of the imagination am I an angel. I've done all my share of the bad stuff, but I've always been the guy that approached singing in a very physical way.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I come from a sports background.
Oh, okay.
So I approach singing as almost a competitive thing. Yeah. And I constantly wanted to get better. So what I would do is, you know, when I started singing, it was, you know, the early AC/DC and the early Van Halen and Black Sabbath, and then I hear Judas Priest and Stained Class, and I'm like, holy shit, how did they do that? I want to learn how to do that. You know what I mean? So it was, for me, I took it serious the whole way, and I think it's paid off for me later on in life, because I didn't abuse my body and abuse my voice, and I took care of myself, and I just took it serious, man. You know, I just took it really serious. It's
obvious in listening to some of the tunes, you know, and again, I guess the point I'm really trying to make here is, you know, I've heard your name, Roy Cathey, going around, you know, over the years in regards to other bands, you know, and it's kind of like after listening to the FIP, I'm like, man, how the hell, where have I been? How the hell have I missed this band? And it's kind of like discovering a great new band and kind of wanting to tell all your friends about it,
Well, man, I appreciate it very much, and I have a funny saying about myself, and I've heard people say that to me before.
Yeah.
I'm the most famous unknown singer anybody's ever heard of. You know what I mean? It's I'm that guy that when they hear him, they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember him from that. Oh yeah, oh shit, he's really good. Why isn't this guy not?" You know what I mean?
He should be bigger. And in fact, I'm going to tell you a funny story now, like in regards to kind of my knowledge of you, but before your publicist got in touch with me about doing the interview, I just kind of was aware of the other day. Oh, wait a minute, he was in that band Cold Sweat with Mark Ferrari. So just that alone, you look at that, it's kind of like an interesting little footnote, and that band kind of had a little bit of success because Mark Ferrari was in the band and all that. But you've done things after that. But see, people like when they hear Roy Cathey, oh, he's a guy from he was a singer from that band Cold Sweat with Mark Ferrari. And then I also have, we have a mutual friend and guitar player, Mike Flores, in your other band, Steel City. And he's talked to me a little bit about you and what a great singer you are, and Steel City. And so I kind of know you from that as well. So it's kind of interesting. It's like, and even if you look at what you guys do in Steel City and The Fifth, they're two totally different sounding, even though it's got the same singer. They sound nothing alike, and I think that's pretty cool that you can have two totally different bands, and they each got their own unique sound.
Well, I mean, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with, number one, dude, I love singing.
Yeah.
I love singing. I'm an entertainer. I started doing it when I was 15 years old. I'm 54, and I feel like I'm singing better than I've ever sang in my life. I just love singing, and I love the challenge. I took on the challenge of taking on a Boston tribute band, and that's something that a lot of singers would want to take on. I took it on. I picked up a lot of technique from the whole experience, and it made me a better singer.
What was the name of the band, if you don't mind me asking? Because Boston's one of my all-time favorite bands, and I don't think they're ever going to really tour, of course, anymore, or even make new music because Brad Delp, sadly, is no longer with us. But they're one of those bands that kind of, I think, a lot of people forgot about. Great band, though.
Oh man, when I was first approached to do it, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it because they were offering great money and they were doing casinos and stuff like that, and I grew up, hearing Boston.
Yeah.
But I really didn't listen to Boston. I was a metal kid. I was listening to Priest and Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
So when I took the gig and I agreed to do it, and they sent me the set list, and I start listening to the songs, I'm like, holy fuck. Okay, wait a minute.
I remember hearing that.
I tried to metal, I tried to heavy metal those notes, and I realized you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I had to learn a lot about my head voice. I have a very strong head-chest mixture. And it made me a better singer, But from that, when I was approached to do the Steel City project, that's pure '80s, So it was easy for me to go back to my Cold Sweat roots to do that. The Fifth is a little bit more towards my liking.
Metal, yeah.
A little bit more my style. I'm a little bit more of an edgier kind of singer.
Yeah.
And I'm about to, I'm just about to take on another project that is way off the radar of anything that I've done before. It's still in the hard rock metal genre, but it's more in the Mastodon Soundgarden.
Oh, vein. Cool. Well, see, again, you're kind of that's your little influence of that coming out, and again, that makes sense. You'd have another band for that, kind of do all these different things. But let me ask you, going back to your Cold Sweat days, do you remember how you got that gig? I mean, did you go where they were auditioning a bunch of singers? Somebody call you?
it's actually a pretty fascinating story. I was singing in my band Gibraltar that my dad managed, and we were playing. We were touring up and down the East Coast, and we happened to be playing down in Hallandale, Florida, which is right outside of Miami. We were playing a 4-night run. The clubs in Florida are open till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because everybody's on blow.
Yeah.
And so anyway, this fucking drunk guy comes up to me one night, second or third night of a 4-night run, and he goes, "Oh my God, you're perfect. My best friend is in this band, and they're signed to MCA Records, but he's going to quit, and they need a singer, and they're managed by Wendy Dio, and Mark Ferrari's the guitar player, so here's Mark Ferrari's phone number."
Wow.
And, and by that time, man, I already been playing the clubs for about 9 years, and even though I was only 23, I was like, okay, man, sure, dude, okay, well, whatever, sure, man, yeah. So I grabbed the phone number, and I put it in my pocket, and I go about. 2 days later, we're still on the road, we got to do our laundry, and I reach in my pocket, and there's the phone number.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck? I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I pick up the phone, I fucking call, and it was Mark.
Wow.
And he was like, hey, look, he goes, the label's already flown all these guys out. We've already spent all our money.
Yeah.
We've got about 3 guys that we're leaning towards. He goes, but if I tell you what, send me your promo pack, send me what you got. So I send it to him. He hates it. He doesn't like any of it. He's like, man, I just really don't know, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, look, man, I said, I know I can sing this stuff. Just give me a live audition. Just give me a live audition. And Mark goes, look, I tell you what, kid. He goes, if you pay for your airline ticket, you fly out here, I'll let you sleep on the floor of my house, and I'll give you an audition. And I'm like, deal.
Okay, wow.
So I get on the airplane for the first time. Never been on a plane before in my life.
Wow.
Flew out on Monday. Auditioned on Wednesday. I signed the record deal on Friday.
Amazing. And so, what was when you went? Obviously, you got the gig, but what was the audition process? I mean, do you remember how many songs you remember? The songs the songs he wanted you to learn, but you went to audition with.
They were the songs that were later on the CD, the Cold Sweat CD. These were songs that were already written. They had already gone through pre-production with the producer Kevin Beamish. They sent me demos, and I learned those 5 songs. And they had been searching for singers for about 6 months. And they've had guys, all the LA guys come in, and everybody's auditioning. And the thing about a lot of these guys, especially the LA guys, they can't hold their voice for more than 20 minutes. You know what I mean? They're like a cloud of dust in a high hole silver. They're fucking done. Well, I came from a cover background where I'm singing 3, 4 1-hour sets a night. Wow. 3, 4 nights a week. I'm a fucking machine.
Yeah.
So I go in, and we're rehearsing at Sound City at these shitty rehearsal rooms that they had with a shitty fucking PA. And I get in there, and the guys are real blasé, and I get up and we run through the song, all 5 of the songs, and I fucking sing them, and they go, Can you do that again? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it again. And we run down the 5 songs again, and they're like, they say, hey, can we talk for a little bit? You might give us a break. Oh, yeah, and I walk outside and everything, and I come back in, and they said, would you mind running through those songs just one more time? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I bang through the set, one more time, and they're just like, so, do you want the gig?
Wow.
And I literally walked in at the last minute and stole the gig from 3 guys that already pretty much were lined up to possibly get it. And the reason is because I was a monster. You know what I mean? They were like, they told me that they could not understand because they had auditioned so many guys on that same fucking PA, and they would come in and they would sound like dog shit. They had no power. It was just garbage. And they said, you came in and you sounded better every fucking time. Every time they went through it, you just got better. You sang harder. It got better.
Well, you know what I think it is? I don't know all the guys that auditioned, but you're saying there's a bunch of guys from LA, kind of name guys from LA that were known at the time. So, maybe being from North Carolina, you wanted it just a little bit more, if you know what I mean, in the sense that maybe some of these other guys auditioned just like, they didn't really care if they got the gig. They either got it or they didn't. And if they didn't get the gig, they just move on to something else. Whereas it sounds like you're the type of guy that really wanted it. So you worked maybe just a little harder than these other guys auditioning might have.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And plus, the LA game out there is, you get in a band, you write a set's worth of music, about 30 minutes worth of music, and then you start playing shows out there, And you got a lot of guys, they got the look, and they look good in leather pants, but, when the rubber meets the road, you got to deliver. And me, you're right. I was hungry as fuck. I was from North Carolina. I knew they didn't think that I belonged there, so I went there.
And you proved yourself.
I went there with fucking chip on my shoulder, and they giggled at my accent, but who ended up laughing in the end?
I mean, if anybody listens to any of your songs, they won't be laughing at your vocals because you got real power, and talking about the fact that you're a Judas Priest fan, I will say from that story you just told about how you had to get that gig and audition, you really delivered the goods, man.
Thank you so much. And there is, speaking of Judas Priest, there is a version of me singing "Victim of Changes" out there. If you look up "Sweat and Bullets," that was the second version of "Cold Sweat" after Mark was departed from the project. But man, we used to cover "Victim of Changes." So
and and I got to ask, when you first go down to audition for a gig, how much of a were you aware of who Mark Ferrari was? Were you much of a Keel fan, or were you just kind of casually aware of who he was?
Oh yeah, I was aware of Keel. I knew exactly who Mark was, and I was familiar with Keel because I'd seen him in concert at the Cumberland County Arena here in my hometown. So I was aware of who it was, and I was definitely aware that who Wendy Dio was.
Oh, of course, yeah.
When the guy managed, said that they were managed by Wendy Dio, I was immediately like, oh shit.
I got to at least give it a try. Hey, what do you have to lose? And that's got to be kind of an interesting, kind of cool feeling that the guy you're going to audition for, you've actually seen him in his previous band in concert, and now and then after you get the gig, it's like now you're jumping up on a stage with that guy that you've seen in concert.
Yeah, it was definitely a surreal experience.
Yeah, and do you remember what it was that kind of led to the band's breakup? Or was it kind of just because, grunge was coming in and all that? Because it seems almost like as quick as the band signed, you guys were kind of here and going.
Well, we were unfortunately signed at the end of that whole glut. We were at, 88, 89. The industry was changing. We signed with the worst possible label. It was just a multitude of errors that just turned into critical mass.
Yeah. And the last thing I was saying regarding the Cold Sweat, it's kind of interesting because, of course, you went an audition, you got the gig. It was kind of Mark's band at the time. That was the first thing he did after Keel. And the interesting thing is, when you hear people refer to Mark Ferrari now, he's always, of course, referred to ex-Keel guitarist. Now, interesting enough, anytime you hear your name, it comes up ex-Cold Sweat, singer Roy Cathey. As you should have that tag if you know what I mean. It's kind of interesting though. You get that band gets more reference in regards to your name, I think, these days.
Well, I think in a lot of ways, Mark left the Cold Sweat project with some hard feelings. I mean, we all did. So there was a long time that Mark didn't want to really acknowledge the whole Cold Sweat thing, and he really didn't come to terms until we recently in 2020 reunited and did the Monsters of Rock cruise. So I think the reason that may be is because I kept the fifth going, and I was the one that started putting Cold Sweat material in the fifth set. We started playing the festival circuit of the old school melodic rock crowd, and they knew me from Cold Sweat, so I was going to give them some Cold Sweat songs. I guess I was the guy that held the flag the whole time.
And that's what I'm getting to. It's kind of it's kind of funny. You're not maybe an original member. You kind of are, but you know what I mean. You weren't the original singer, and yet you kept the flag going, and I kind of dig that because a lot of times people kind of just that was my past. I want nothing to do with it. And I think it's cool, even though the band wasn't huge, you got your legacy fans. I mean, the fact that you could do a gig and get the band together and reunite at the Monsters of Rock. I mean, there's enough of a fan base to do that. That's got to be a pretty cool thing.
Well, it is very cool, and I'm very proud of the Cold Sweat legacy.
Yeah.
And look, man, we've got a cult following. We were one of those bands. I like to call us the woulda, coulda, shoulda bands.
Yeah, almost was, but yeah, you were there.
Yeah, the almost was,
Yeah.
And the thing of it is for me. Look, man, I was a kid from North Carolina, and I got a chance to rub elbows and tour with my idols.
Yeah.
I got the chance to do amazing things that I never would have got the chance to do if it wasn't for rock and roll and if it wasn't for Cold Sweat.
Yeah.
So, for me, I'm okay with being the one that holds the Cold Sweat banner high because it was a great moment in my life.
Yeah.
And, when we got to reunite and do the Monsters of Rock cruise in 2020, and dude, I had fans from Germany, Portugal, Brazil, Japan, Greece. I mean, dude, I could go on and on.
And now here's the thing with that. Here's the thing with that. Cold Sweat never really did any touring in any of those countries, right? And yet, like, you make the point that look at that.
Yeah, I mean that's a testament of the music and how it spread throughout the world, and that for me was some serious validation. It was like, see, I knew this was a special band. We weren't just one of the many in the glut, because there was a lot of them in there that didn't stand out. They all fucking mushed together. Cold Sweat was special, man. We had great songs, great musicianship. Our live show was fucking smoking. It was just, if that record would have came out 83, 84, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it. And it just, another thing I want to ask real quick was, you took an interesting. I was curious, like, did you ever get, after Cold Sweat fell apart, did you ever get offers like to come and audition for other established bands? Because I think you kind of took the smart move. You kind of continued doing your own thing, rather than joining.
Well, I was so disheartened with the whole LA music business thing.
Yeah.
That I just said fuck it, and I left LA and went to Atlanta and went in a different direction. I think the straw that broke the camel's back is me and Eric Gammons. We got a little project put together. We started working with a producer, and it was a really, really heavy version. It was a band called Pain Society, real heavy. Imagine Skid Row meets Ministry meets Nine Inch Nails, just really heavy. And I was screaming my ass off. I was screaming my fucking ass off on this stuff. And we did a great fucking demo at Rumbo Recorders at this amazing studio. And they start shopping it. And the first A&R guy goes, man, we love this. We love the music. But the singer, it's almost like he sings too good.
Yeah.
Direct quote from an A&R person. He sings too good.
Yeah, and here's the final question for a day. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the singer that was in Cold Sweat before you, wasn't it Oni Logan?
Correct. It was Oni. I was the guy that replaced Oni.
Yeah, see, I mean, it's interesting that band kind of launched the careers of both you and him, and look at what he went on to become.
Yeah. Well, Oni's an interesting character.
Yeah.
We're friends and we're buds, and the Fifth is open for Lynch Mob a couple of times, and Lynch Mob was on the Monsters of Rock cruise when Cold Sweat got to reunite. But he's an interesting character.
Yeah. Unique voice, I will say that. I mean, I've interviewed him a couple times. He's always been pretty cool to me. I had the pleasure of going to see him perform with the Dio Disciples. Him and Tim Owens were like splitting the vocals. Very interesting show. Yeah.
But Oni's a good cat. He's definitely that gypsy spirit, and
he's kind of like you in the sense that he beats to his own drummer in the sense that he was out of Lynch Mob for years, and he's kind of done his own thing, and he's come and go a couple times as he wants, and I kind of dig that about him, he's paved his own way. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of, he does his own thing and floats in and out of George's life.
Yeah, yes. Kind of yeah.
They've got an interesting, toxic little relationship.
Yeah. And George finally put it in, I guess, to lynch Mom. Well, Roy, I'd like to thank you for taking time to do this interview. It's great talking to you today and getting to know you. So, like I said, let's keep in touch, and I'm sure we will do it again. And what I'd like to maybe have you think about, maybe next time I interview, we also have a